Let's clear something up. Being LGBTQ+ isn't a new trend. It's as old as humanity itself. People have always loved who they love, long before Wi-Fi, cars, or even plumbing. Ancient societies had all kinds of relationships, and love didn't check for gender or rules before showing up. The history of LGBTQ+ people isn't a footnote. It's woven into the fabric of human existence, even if some tried to erase it. It's wild that people accept ancient pyramids, but think same-sex love is a modern idea. Our ancestors had complex relationships, and the desire to connect is universal. For centuries, LGBTQ+ history was hidden or erased by those in power who wanted a simpler story. But humans have always existed in glorious, unapologetic color. This isn't about a lifestyle choice or picking an identity like an Instagram filter. It's about who people are and always have been. The fight for LGBTQ+ rights isn't new. It's a continuation of a struggle that's thousands of years old. It's a story of courage, resilience, and the right to love and be loved. So buckle up, history class is in session, and it's way more interesting than what you learned in school. Let's dive in. If you time traveled to ancient Greece or Rome, you'd see same-sex relationships were part of life, sometimes even celebrated. The Greeks wrote poems and plays about love between men, and the sacred band of Thebes was an army of male couples, but it wasn't a rainbow utopia. Relationships followed strict social codes, and there weren't labels like gay or straight. In Rome, power dynamics mattered more than gender. Acceptance came with rules and asterisks. Some cultures were open, others harshly condemned same-sex love, often using religious texts to justify persecution. The world's view on LGBTQ+ identity has always been shaped by culture, religion, and power. And gender? The idea of only man or woman is newer than you think. Many ancient cultures recognized people who lived outside the gender binary, like the galley priests of Rome who adopted female roles. Gender fluidity and diverse identities have always existed, even if the words are new. The ancient world was messy, but it had more nuance than we often realize. It's always been complicated. The Middle Ages brought a harsh crackdown on LGBTQ+ people as religious power grew in Europe. Acceptance vanished, replaced by strict rules. Procreation was the only acceptable reason for relationships. Sodomy laws criminalized same-sex love, often with brutal punishments. Fear and shame became the norm, forcing people to hide who they were. Yet, LGBTQ+ people didn't disappear. Love survived in secret letters, hidden relationships, and coded stories. This era cemented the idea that being LGBTQ+ was not just different, but morally wrong, a legacy that lasted centuries. The roots of modern discrimination were planted here, making the fight for rights a battle against centuries-old prejudice. Understanding this dark chapter shows what was at stake. The struggle for equality is about dismantling a system built over 1,000 years. The 19th and early 20th centuries brought science into the conversation. Suddenly, same-sex attraction was labeled a mental illness. Terms like homosexuality and inversion medicalized LGBTQ+ identities, shifting the narrative from sin to sickness. Pioneers like Magnus Hirschfeld fought for acceptance, arguing that sexuality was a natural human variation. Hirschfeld's Institute for Sexual Science in Berlin became a rare, safe haven for LGBTQ+ people. But society pushed back, laws got stricter, and public scandals like Oscar Wilde's trial sent chilling messages. LGBTQ+ people formed underground communities living double lives to survive. This era was a mix of progress and backlash, new language for identity, but also new ways to marginalize. Activists planted the seeds for future change, even as the soil was hostile. The stage was set for revolution, but it started with a conversation, however flawed. Before liberation there was diagnosis and secrecy. The groundwork for the modern movement was laid in contradiction. The Stonewall Inn in 1969 was the spark that ignited the modern LGBTQ+ rights movement. Life was tough. Police raids on gay bars were routine and being out was dangerous. But when police raided Stonewall, the community fought back instead of dispersing. The protests lasted 6 nights, a raw, defiant stand against oppression. Stonewall wasn't the first act of resistance, but it was the most visible, galvanizing a new generation of activists. The movement shifted from quiet assimilation to bold liberation. Groups like the Gay Liberation Front emerged, demanding justice, not just tolerance. The first Pride marches commemorated Stonewall, a political protest, not a parade. Stonewall transformed the fight for rights into a loud, unapologetic demand for equality. Sometimes progress comes from a brick thrown in the name of freedom. Heroes like Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, transgender women of color, led the charge. The closet door was kicked open and there was no going back. Stonewall's legacy is immeasurable. It was the revolution's turning point. After Stonewall, the AIDS crisis hit the LGBTQ+ community hard in the 1980s. The disease, later named AIDS, devastated lives, while the government and media largely ignored the crisis. LGBTQ+ people organized their own support networks, cared for the sick, and demanded action. Activist groups like ACT UP staged bold protests, forcing the world to pay attention. Their slogan, "Silence = death," became a rallying cry. Activists educated themselves, challenged drug companies, and changed medical activism forever. The crisis left deep scars but also forged unbreakable solidarity. The activism born from tragedy led to life-saving treatments and new political power. The fight against AIDS was a fight for survival, and it changed the world. The legacy of resilience and activism continues to inspire. The late 20th and early 21st centuries saw rapid change, highs and lows for LGBTQ+ rights. Activism moved into courtrooms and politics, fighting for military service and marriage equality. The repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and the 2015 Supreme Court decision legalizing same-sex marriage were huge victories. The conversation expanded to include transgender and non-binary people, with increased visibility in media and pop culture. But progress brought backlash. New discriminatory laws target trans youth and healthcare. The fight is far from over, especially for the most vulnerable. Younger generations are more accepting, and the internet has connected LGBTQ+ communities worldwide. The journey from sin to crime to sickness to simply being human has been long and hard. The goal now, ensure everyone can live openly, safely, and with dignity. LGBTQ+ history is a story of resilience and hope. Progress may be slow, but the arc bends toward justice. The work isn't done, but the future is worth fighting for. And that's the story we're still writing, together.